Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday and happy Halloween to everyone. Rachel Vihel, DMac, Andrew Mason, we're all hanging with you on this spooky Monday. How was everybody's Sunday? It was almost like an off Sunday with us working like 8 hours by noon. How's everyone doing? Mace?
Well, good, but Rachel, what is your costume? I thought you were going to dress up as something.
Are you saying that I'm a policewoman all the time? Am I constantly like getting on people?
Describe your outfit. What do you got going there, officer?
I have this nice little hat, which really makes my head look huge, if I will say. I did do a braid, which I very rarely do. And then, we've got a police attire. And then if you know me in true fashion, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I still got some sweatpants going on underneath.
Doesn't everybody have sweatpants on this? I mean, no one sees what's down below. I mean,
no, we're here for comfort.
Yeah.
Okay? Comfort and comfort only. Mace is doing a Mace Fit Friday again for Halloween. Mace, how are you?
Yeah, Mace, come on, man. What are you doing?
Well, by the time Rachel suggested last night get a costume, I'm like, okay, I can't really go out and get anything. The only other thought that I had was, I thought, okay, I looked in my closet. I'm like, well, if I wear the Henry Aaron throwback Braves jersey, I could say I'm dressed as a legend today. But
oh boy,
yeah, there's not much. There's not much there. When I dig into my closet, there is not much there for me to be something other than myself.
Well, that's a terrible costume, Andrew. I just want to start off by saying that. But I'm dressed as myself. So, but I am one of several different things. I am DMac in college, go orange, right?
Rowdy.
But wait, they were the orange men back then, right? They weren't the orange.
I am dressed as a fan whose team is going to a bowl game. That could be that too. And finally, I'm dressed as somebody who went to a school that everybody else in the media hates.
Okay, I saw this picture, DMac, and I wish I would have seen this picture earlier because I think you really could have pulled off the Joker.
Oh, yeah. I could have been the Joker.
I think you could have done this.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's just me, at like 2 a.m. on Bourbon Street when we're at a Super Bowl. I mean, that's not even a stretch. But, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Look at him.
The
Joker. Okay, well, let's get into Broncos talk because obviously it's Reaction Monday. The Broncos getting a win, which almost seems like it complicates things, but it also gives some people their job security for a few more weeks. Mace, how you feeling after yesterday's win?
We're actually right now we're getting 24 hours past the game, and there's the old 24-hour rule. So I think it's fair to kind of step back a little bit and say, I'm happy for the Broncos that they basically extended their run of relevance because if they were 2-6, the season's basically over, and then it really gets uninteresting. I also think everything should be taken with a shaker's worth of salt because this is not a very good team. The Jaguars do two things well. They run the ball with Travis Etienne, and they shoot themselves in the foot. Those are the two things that they do perfectly, and both of them were on display. So I step back, look at the Broncos, and say it was good to get a win. Clearly, with Russell Wilson, you do have a quarterback who, despite all the flaws so far this season, still knows how to win and get it done late. We've seen it 3 times this year, but they've still got a lot of work to do if they're going to actually push for the playoffs here. There's a lot to fix.
Are the playoffs even in question still? I mean, this is the toughest part of the schedule that they're now going up against, DMac.
Listen, you got to keep hope alive the best you can. You know what? We'll see if they still think the playoffs are a possibility, depending on what they do with Bradley Chubb over the next 24 hours. If they deal Bradley Chubb, then clearly we should all stop thinking about the playoffs and really evaluate this team on a game-to-game getting better basis. If they keep Bradley Chubb, they're at least hopeful. They see something. Maybe we don't, but they do. And if they keep Bradley Chubb, and Rachel, you've been talking about it, the most likely outcome of that is they would franchise tag him. Mm-hmm. Either way, Bradley Chubb is going to get paid $20 million next year. Whether he gets $20 million in installments from another team, or the Broncos tag him, or the Broncos pay him $20 million, either way, he's getting $20 million per. That's the value of Bradley Chubb right now. He got good enough at the right time, and has enough buzz out there to make that happen. So Broncos, let me tell you this. If they trade Bradley Chubb today or tomorrow, that's it, the end. They've made their declaration that this is clearly about next year and the years going forward, not this year.
Okay. I'm not sure about that. The reason why is I think that they can still, when they get Randy Gregory back, he's probably coming back for the Titans game, and they get Baron Browning in there. He could be back by the Titans game. If not, I think he's back by the Raider game at the latest. I think it's more that they're trying to kind of walk both lines and still be relevant, but also plan for the future. They're trying to figure out both. I don't think Brad. I don't think that
you got to make your mind up. By the way, you got to make your mind up.
Why? Why can't you? Why can't you do both? They actually played better in the short term last year after they traded Von Miller than they did with him.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine, but you can't win without Bradley Chubb, and you can't make the playoffs without Bradley Chubb. You can't play with one of your best defensive pass rushers, and you don't know how Randy Gregory is going to return, and you don't know how Baron Browning, frankly, is going to come back from a hip. You don't know that, and nobody knows it. So the fact that Bradley Chubb got back as good as he did is pretty significant. Listen, I think they should trade him, and I think they should trade him maybe not for the obvious reasons, but what I've been banging the table for years is have some sort of consistent philosophy as a team. And trading Bradley Chubb would be consistent with moving Baron Browning to outside, drafting Nick Benito, and acquiring Randy Gregory, and then dealing Russell Wilson. So the only way you could possibly pick up a first-round pick, and it's amazing that that's the vibe out there, that you can get a first-round pick for Bradley Chubb. The only way to do it is to actually trade Bradley Chubb. So I think they should do it because it would be consistent with everything else they've previously done. But let's not get it twisted. If they do it, the rest of the season's about next year and years to come, not this year.
Okay, well, Dolphins and Jets are interested in trading for Broncos pass rusher Bradley Chubb. There's enough interest from both teams that they're considering trading a first-round pick for him. A well-plugged-in GM tells Peter King. Interesting. I've been kind of on the fence where I don't really know if Bradley Chubb is worth a first-round pick. Of course, if you're the Broncos, you absolutely want a first-round pick since you don't have any. I did look it up. Right now, they're projected. The Jets are at 17th, I believe, in next year's draft, and Miami is 21st. So is that worth it, Nate?
100%. I mean, you step back and you have to kind of remove yourself from the emotion and have a sober view of Bradley Chubb. I mean, he is a good player, probably very good. Is he worth $20 million a year when he's missed 24 games since the start of the 2019 season? And since 2019, he's averaged 7 sacks per 17 games. I mean, that's fine. I just don't see a $20 million player with him. So if either one of those teams comes in and says, hey, first round pick, this, as DMac said, like he's done well to this point. This to me feels like a sell high moment if you get that kind of offer for Bradley Chubb, because I'm not sure that $20 million a year paying him in the future, I'm not sure that's the wisest course of action. In fact, I think it's not.
It wouldn't surprise me, Rachel, if hem and haw George Payton, who has a hard time making his mind up about anything and really wants to go in the safe direction typically, will actually franchise tag Bradley Chubb. That would be splitting it down the middle. That you keep him, you tag him, and you just keep being indecisive, which has been more or less the trademark of George Payton during his 2 years here.
Did you just say George Payton only takes the safe direction, DMac? Because
that is correct. Safe or desperate direction.
Okay, we should call Russell Wilson then. Is that a desperate direction?
Totally desperate. Name me the last quarterback that was acquired with that much capital.
None, because generally they're not available. Usually teams hang on to those quarterbacks like grim death.
Well, that's why when you had an opportunity to draft a quarterback with the number 9 overall pick 2 years ago, you should have done it. I don't know if you've taken a peek at Justin Fields or Mac Jones. Mac Jones won a game in the NFL. He's already led his team to a playoffs. And Justin Fields has just put back-to-back his best games ever as a quarterback in the NFL, running and throwing. And guess what? That is the NFL. You have to run and you have to throw. That's what quarterbacks have to do in this type of NFL. Now, it was a big whiff, and that's not to say Patrick Surtain is not a great player. Sure, he's a great player.
Of course, it's going to come back to that.
Quarterback, and you're in this incredible hole in terms of draft nightmarish because of this. The only reason you're considering getting rid of Bradley Chubb is because of the deal with Russell Wilson. Had you got Justin Fields, you certainly could have drafted a high-rated quarterback the next year and been just fine, or acquired one in free agency, and you wouldn't have had to deal with this nightmare scenario that we're dealing with right now. No, it's hem and haw. And don't forget the video of George Paton on draft night for Patrick Surtain when he looked around the room and goes, safe pick, safe pick, safe pick, to get permission from all the adults in the room. George Paton has been nothing but sort of on the fence with everything. And this is another example. If they don't trade him,
he's not on the fence with everything because sometimes he's desperate. Like if in your term to describe the trade. I mean, if anything with Russell Wilson, that's not on the fence. That's putting all your chips in the middle of the table.
Yeah, because you had to do it because you whiffed the year before. You had no choice. You actually went into an NFL season thinking Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock, both scrubs, by the way, in the NFL this year, could possibly be my starting quarterback. It was just repulsive what actually happened last year, and that George Paton put himself in that situation for Aaron Rodgers. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is bad, but his team is bad. And our Aaron Rodgers looks like he wants to play like it looks like I want to go to Georgetown.
D-Mac, I have a quick question. Okay, so say they would have taken Justin Fields. Okay, let's just
great
pretend
move.
He would have. With what you saw out of Justin Fields for his first year, if Russell Wilson would have been on the table, you still would have said, we're sticking with Justin Fields.
Well, Justin Fields would not have had the same year with the Broncos in his first year as he would have with the Chicago Bears.
How do you know
this is what blows me away. That everybody thinks if you do one move, all the other, like Mase, you talked about a butterfly effect. To think everything else would be the same is insane. No, most likely what would have happened, you would have had an Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes type of year, which, by the way, got the Chiefs to a playoff game. And what you would have is Teddy Bridgewater as a starter. You would have dealt Drew Lock. Drew Lock would not have been on the team. You get whatever you can for him. Then you would have had a year of mentorship with Justin Fields. Fields would never have looked as bad as he did. Everything would have been designed around Fields as it was in San Francisco for Trey Lance. That is how you would have handled it. So to assume that Justin Fields would have looked like anything he did with Chicago under the Broncos situation is ridiculous. Would Fangio still be here as a coach? I mean, maybe, but he would have nothing to do with nothing. You would have created everything around Justin Fields, and then you would have had an athletic quarterback who can throw and run. And likely, probably week 12, 13, something like that, we would have seen Justin Fields integrated. We would have just seen Justin Fields really as a starter for the first time, and we would have had no predispositions to his terrible play. That wouldn't have existed in the universe. Nobody thought Patrick Mahomes sucked, guys, in his first year while he wasn't playing. We were all waiting for him to have the opportunity, and that's what would have happened with Justin Fields.
At the same time, though, would Fields have even gotten out there? Because, I mean, you had Vic Fangio was coaching for his job, just like Matt Nagy in Chicago was coaching for his job last year. So Nagy didn't really want Fields.
The first thing you should have done as George Paton is fire Vic Fangio. I don't care if he was on the steering committee to hire him. He had a hamburger at a steakhouse. You knew everything you should have known. And was it a bad, awkward situation? Sure, it was. But have some courage. Don't be a wishy-washy wimp. Don't be on the fence. Everybody knew Fangio was a disaster. And yes, by the way, there's zero chance Fangio would have endorsed the drafting of Justin Fields. So guess what? Get rid of Fangio. George Paton was hired like in January or something. You had plenty of time to dispose of Fangio and bring yourself on a new head coach, which is exactly what George Paton should have done.
You know, D-Mac, you're so strong on this opinion. I think we almost just have to move on because we got a lot of people in the comments.
No problem. I mean, we can definitely move on. But comparing listen, Mase definitely ticked me off because he wants to talk on Twitter this morning about how amazing George Payton is as a GM because he got like reserve defensive linemen. I mean, it's confounding.
He got a bunch of quality players without having a pick before pick 64.
Can do
that's valuable too. That's a valuable tool as a GM as well. It's not
do that. Yeah. Mace, there's 250 players in the universe. Anybody can find guys off the scrap heap. And by the way,
if anyone could do it, then why did the Broncos keep whiffing in draft after draft after draft on John Elway and Matt Russell's watch?
Well, I know why, Mace. They had terrible ownership or a terrible ownership situation, and they had no backbone. Nobody has been more wishy-washy than the Denver Broncos for the past decade. I mean, it is ridiculous. John Elway as soon as John Elway drafted Bradley Chubb over Josh Allen, that should have been the last day as him as the GM. It was the worst pick in Broncos history. And I'll save Elway some grace until that moment. But, I mean, come on. I mean, what a whiff. So you had a very disorganized organization, period. And, by the way, this is not me saying it. Look at what has happened. Literally everything has changed. Everything from 2 years ago. Coaches, players, ownership, GM, everything. Quarterback. Nobody has had more upheaval or change than the Denver Broncos. So you want to talk about, oh, my God, what an incredible GM he is because he got, a reserve cornerback? I mean, give me a break. I could put auto draft on ESPN.com and draft just as well as George Payton.
Oh, come on. That's like the dumbest thing you could say, okay? First of all, I mean, Damari Mathis, you know what? He's probably going to be starting for this team for the next few years. So
great. Oh, wait, hold on.
Greg, how does Greg Dulcich look to you the last three games since he came in? He's looked phenomenal. He might be having, if he stays healthy, it's a big if he stays healthy, he could be literally having the best rookie season of a third-year tight end that we've seen ever.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. You found somebody 6'6" with like a 4'9", whatever, 40.
He didn't have 4'9" speed. He was like 4'6". He was like 4'7" at the combine.
There you go. Even easier. Wow. I found a guy who was 6'6" that runs a 4'7". Gee, he might be good. Gee, he can't block. Gee, he went to the same college I went to. Oh my God. I mean, that's like me talking about, there is a great tight end out of Syracuse right now. We should be interested in him. Big guy, 6'8". I mean, this guy's unfreaking believable. But Mace, every team has a Greg Dulcich. Every team has them. That's not that unusual, dude. It's not that crazy. So I'm happy that Greg Dulcich is on the team. Awesome. But so what? I mean, that doesn't define you as a GM. That's a nice piece of the puzzle. Who you hire as a coach, how you set up your organization, who you have as a quarterback. That is 70%, more than 70% of your job as a GM. So you tell me how that's going.
Okay.
How's your coach doing? How's your quarterback doing?
All right. So you're telling me every team, let's just parse that out. You're telling me every team has a tight end that a tight end playing a position that's incredibly hard to learn, that in the first 3 games is already on close to 1,000-yard pace over a 17-game season. Every team doesn't have that. Every team doesn't have a top 5 corner like you found in Pat Surtain there in the first round. Every team doesn't have 2 guys that they've picked in day 2 of the last 2 years, Baron Browning and Nick Bonita, who, by the way, had a very good game yesterday, stepping in and playing extensively. It doesn't have 2 guys that make you have the ability to say, if we get a first-round pick for Bradley Chubb, whose contract is expiring, we might take this because, you know what? With these guys we've got coming up, maybe we don't need to spend $20 million on him. Instead, we'll spend $20 million on a rarer talent like Draymond Jones, who was already there.
All right, listen. I already said what they should do, and that's trade Bradley Chubb. And I said it because it's consistent with what they've done here in the past. So let's not get that confused. So all George Payton has to do for his brilliance is to trade Bradley Chubb for a first-round pick to the Jets, the Dolphins, the whoever's. That's all he has to do. There's no complications about this whatsoever. Right?
What do you mean no complications about it?
There's nothing complicated about this. This is an easy move, right?
It should be. I mean, it should be, but
so should he get
that's why you got to get away. Like, I don't want the Broncos making a decision based on Sunday. And I'll say this, if George Payton changes his mind about what to do with Bradley Chubb based on Sunday, then he probably should get some criticism because the decision on whether to trade Bradley Chubb This should be a long-term logical decision, not based on the euphoria of one win over a team that's now 2-6.
You know what's funny about this, Rachel? Mase is more down on this win than I am. He's the negative Nelly about this win, not me.
I'm actually with Mase too. Well, it was great to get a win. I don't think this means success is here for the Broncos. They're going to ride it into the playoffs, and Russell Wilson and the team are saying, let's ride. Yeah, I have a lot of questions, but I want to go back to Greg Dulcich because you both were talking about him for a little bit. Is he going to be the saving grace for this offense? Because really right now, he seems like the person that the chemistry is really building with Russ, and it just seems like the connection is forming around him. Mase, I'll let you go first before
I mean, saving grace as far as maybe pushing it toward middle tier. Yeah, I mean, this offense isn't going to become elite the rest of the way. I mean, that's they've still got problems to fix. I think that the running game is probably going to be duct tape and bailing wire with what you've got with Gordon and Latavius Murray and then Marlon Mack probably stepping in here in 13 days once he gets up to speed. I think Dulcich, he can open things up. I think one of the interesting things, though, that's happening is it's sort of a zero-sum thing where Greg Dulcich gets more and then you're taking away from somebody. I mean, Greg Dulcich is getting targets and making plays, and the guy who's basically vanishing right now is Courtland Sutton. So it's not like the Broncos are doing more. It's just that the receptions and yards are going to a different person who probably at this point may have more upside than Courtland Sutton, who really is struggling to get separation out there.
Yeah, the separation. What are we talking about? I mean, that was never his thing anyway. And his degree that he can high point catches, well, good luck on that. Because Russell Wilson is a sight quarterback. He needs to see you to throw it to you. He needs to know that you're open. And even then, who knows? So Courtland Sutton would be great for Peyton Manning. He is terrible for Russell Wilson. Terrible. The best receiver on this team, the guy that should have the ball in his hands more than anybody, is Jerry Jeudy. He's the most dynamic player. He's the most creative player. He's his own peculiar head case. But that guy is special, okay? And so is KJ Hamler because he offers speed and strength. Montreal Washington has speed. He has no strength. KJ Hamler is sturdy, okay? So those are your two best guys. Teams will catch up with Greg Dulcich. Teams think he's the fourth member of, Hanson right now. They'll find him at some point. I don't know. He looks like Weird Al Yankovic's cool brother, so they'll.
You don't think that Dulcich can be like the next Travis Kelce?
Well, I mean, possibly, but teams will we'll see. But teams will catch up to him. That's the word will be out. And the Broncos were playing against Jacksonville, whose secondary was, not good. I mean, period. The front line for Jacksonville is relatively stout, but their secondary is terrible. I mean, look what they've given up over the past few weeks. Look at how they did get beat by the Broncos. That's not a very good team there in Jacksonville. By the way, if I'm going to do a deal, I'm going to do a deal with the Jets. I never believed in the Jets. I don't think they're that good. And I bet you anything, they're about to death spiral for the rest of the season.
Do you still believe the Jets are worse than the Jaguars?
I do. That's how bad I think the Jets actually are. I think the Jaguars are their own worst enemy, okay? In back-to-back weeks, they have they're not good enough to just give the ball away in the end zone. ATN fumbled in the end zone against the Giants, and then Trevor Lawrence, I mean, talk about stupid. And credit to Justin Simmons. That interception by Justin Simmons saved jobs, okay?
Yeah.
That was gargantuan. That's 14-0, okay? Now, granted, the Broncos didn't score on that particular drive. Shocker. They had 6 empty drives and 3 great drives. But it wasn't 14-0. If it's 14-0, Russell is going to be way more exposed, and I bet you the Broncos don't stick to the run. At 10-0, they were still okay. They still had enough patience to be all right, and then they just kind of stuck with it. And, hey, good for them. But to paint the beginning of that game like it was anything but the worst thing we've all ever seen would be incredibly disingenuous. Incredibly. So the cliche of 60 minutes is just a stupid, dumb cliche that you hear in press conferences and movies. It doesn't really matter. What you need to be is good enough when it matters. And the Broncos were. The Broncos were defensively and offensively. It wasn't for a long period of time. Guys, this is Tebow mania. This is exactly how Tim Tebow and the Broncos used to win games. What we have in Russell Wilson is a slightly better quarterback than Tim Tebow at this moment.
Wow. But I mean, you can't argue with it. He look, even yesterday, you look at the overall picture. I think ESPN on QBR had him at like 38 or something like that, or 36. I mean, the yesterday didn't help his metrics at all.
No, you put it out there, Mase.
Yeah.
You threw it out there.
Yeah.
Defending George Payton, you pointed out how poor the quarterback he gave up the farm has been in terms of QBR. That game for Russell Wilson, listen, the only reason that game looked good is because of how bad it started. So all he did was get up to below average. I mean, he went from abysmal to a below average, and good for him. And thank God KJ Hamler caught that ball. And thank God the Broncos realized certain things. Like, let's just be conservative on the goal line. Let's take our two big, huge running backs and run them into the line. Let's take our chances with that. So listen, the Broncos did get smarter. Now, is this the blueprint to keep winning? Well, yeah, actually it is. Let's see if they stick with it as they play better teams. And trust me, you're not getting the Jaguars every week. And I don't know what's going on with Tannehill because Malik Willis played there for the Titans. So I don't know how bad that is. Maybe Mase knows.
Yeah, he had an illness, did Tannehill, and that's why Willis played. And I mean, I'd be shocked if Tannehill doesn't play in 2 weeks. Not that he's any great shape.
You gave up 156 yards to ATN. What in the world is Travis Henry going to do to you?
Travis Henry, but yeah, it's not. But here's the thing: it's not just ATN. All right, if Breece Hall doesn't tear it,
I was close.
You're close. If Breece Hall doesn't tear his ACL last week, he probably goes for $130 on the Broncos. And then Josh Jacobs for the Raiders ran all over you. And now on the other side of this bye, you've got Derrick Henry and you've got Josh Jacobs. So one thing that is, I think, kind of worth the Broncos examining in the bye is what's going wrong with their run defense. And even Bradley Chubb, as good as he usually can be against the run, even Chubb, they were running around him yesterday, and ATM was getting some significant gains going around Bradley Chubb.
Mase, DMac is sold on this $20 million for Chubb. What number are you saying for Bradley Chubb?
I think somebody's going to pay him $20 million. I don't think I wouldn't pay him $20 million if I were a GM.
What would you pay him?
I'd pay him maybe a little bit more than Randy Gregory. So I'd say probably in the $15 to $17 million a year range.
But Rachel, this is what happens. Some guys luck out. Some guys get overpaid for. It happens in free agency every year. Mm-hmm. Whether they deserve it or not is kind of a moot point. Did Kirk Cousins deserve all that money? No. I mean, it's paying off for him now. They're doing all right now. But he's on his second contract for the Vikings, which is the way Kirk Cousins has fleeced the NFL for money is it's mind-blowing. Yeah. Bradley Chubb, if he does go to free agency, will be one of the top 3 or 4 pass rushers, period. And those guys always get overpaid for. Gregory was overpaid for. Frankly, Vaughn was probably overpaid for because he had to choose to go to Buffalo. You just see this happen every single year. And whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. So you gotta face that reality. You're not going to get Bradley Chubb on a haircut. And frankly, why the hell would Bradley Chubb want to be here?
That's a great question.
Yeah. Maybe he's an Eastern Seaboard guy because we hear Miami and the Jets, right? Maybe that suits him more. He grew up in the outside of Atlanta. He went to school in Raleigh, North Carolina. Maybe that part of the country is just where he wants to be, back east.
He wants to be in the part of the country where they're going to pay him the most money.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here? He's no different than anybody else.
Or win playoff games.
Like Miami and the Jets have specialized in winning playoff games over the last decade or so. Miami, it's what you are right. It's what you are right now. It's what and right now they're two teams that are in better shape than the Broncos are at this point. So it's and again, if you're George Payton, you're you're making you're putting together the jigsaw puzzle of the roster here under the cap and saying, all right, can we have both Bradley Chubb and Draymond Jones? And I think there's an argument to be made, and I discussed this with stinking Mike Evans this morning, that if you're going to give the big bag to somebody in that front seven, you might be better off giving it to Draymond Jones because as an interior pass rusher, there are fewer guys like Draymond Jones than Bradley Chubb working off the edge.
That's a good point. Okay, well, we do have to tell everybody about an awesome opportunity as we take a quick break with Redline Athletic Centennial. You can enter in to win a year-long membership to the brand new state-of-the-art training facility for your student athlete. Ages 8 through 18 can enter. Plus, you get a $100 gas gift card, so it's definitely an opportunity you're not going to want to miss. Do you both think, now that the Broncos wearing those horrible mismatched uniforms, are we going to be seeing them a lot more often now that they got the W next to them, Mace?
Oh, 100%. You know they're wearing them in Tennessee. I mean, football players and football teams, they are more than Michael Scott saying, I'm not superstitious, I'm a little stitious. No, they're superstitious. So they're 2-0 in the blue pants. They wore them with the blue jerseys back in San Francisco in September. We're going to see them. And you know what? They can't. I don't think we'll see them when they do Color Rush against the Raiders next month. If they do, then that'd be hilarious because you'd have like old school jersey and then the swoosh and all that. But if they keep winning, we will see, and I'll predict it right now, Rachel and DMac. We will see in December, they'll wear their regular orange jerseys with these blue pants.
It's so awful. It is just so awful, DMac.
I mean, if you like it, if you win, keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, it's the worst looking uniform I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was disturbing how bad the orange and blue stripes, how they did it.
The brown and the yellow?
Oh, yeah. At least the yellow and brown was consistent. And there was a fun old timey feel to it. This looked like a drunk guy was late for work. You know, that's what these uniforms looked like.
I saw a lot of people on Twitter saying somebody forgot one half of the uniform and they had this. So it's an interesting. But another question with the trade deadline being tomorrow, 2 p.m. Yep, they are. That is
there you
just
go.
atrocious.
Hey, the best ones though were the guys that twisted the socks. Yeah. And they did like the barber pole effect around their calves.
Yep.
Oh man, that was hilarious.
I know exactly. Also, I went to that game as a fan, and they like gave out yellow mustache.
Yes,
there it is, Jake on the back end. So
that's beautiful. That's so bad. It's beautiful.
Speaking of Jake, we're actually going to bring him in real quick because he also dressed up for Halloween, and I think we need to see his costume.
You better not be a bear.
He's pretty dang good. All right, Jake, who are we being today? Let me see, my friend. Dun 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 dun.
Ah, he's a bear.
Smokey the Bear.
But only you can prevent forest fire, you three.
Oh.
I'll do my best. Don't worry.
I know you wore that last weekend. How many times did you have to explain yourself?
Everybody knew.
Baloney. There's no way.
It's a very trendy thing right now.
Every time you walk into the mountains, you see, or drive into the mountains, you see fire danger signs with Smokey next to it.
I feel like he's very trendy within like the last year.
Also,
all right. I mean, I guess
it helps that every single person I was with was also dressed like a bear. So,
why was everybody dressed like a bear?
I have questions.
Well, I went out with like 5 people, and we were a 5-pack of bears.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bears don't hang out in packs, though. Dude.
So, what kind of bears were we talking about? Was there like a Yogi Bear? Was there like someone wearing a Bears jersey? There's Chicago Bear.
So,
what did you have?
We had the Sleepy Time Bear from Celestial Seasonings. They're a great tea. We had Fozzie Bear, Waka Waka. We had a Care Bear, and we had one of the bears from Build-A-Bear. So you know,
I'll tell you what, I know who the least popular friend would have been. Dress up like the Charmin Bear.
Okay, that's fun. See, I suggested once we got to this amount of bears, I was like, can I be Mike Ditka? And my fiance would not let me be Mike Ditka.
Oh, that's a setback. And that's such an easy costume. You just you can go out and find the old sweater vest, get a shirt and tie and the mustache, and you get like the Clark Griswold hat and you're good to go.
Okay,
by the way, I heard that's why Tom and Giselle broke up, that she wouldn't let him go as a winning quarterback.
Oh.
DMac with the joke. I have a quick question. Jake, oh my gosh, that's funny. The book, there was a family of bears, and it's a book series, like a childhood book series. What's
Berenstain? Berenstain Bears.
Yeah.
Listen.
Not Bernstein?
It's Bernstein Bears. I swear on it, everybody. Okay, I swear on it.
Is it not Bernstein? What are you saying there, Mace?
There's a debate over whether it's Berenstain or Bernstein. There's a theory out there that there's a timeline divergence that happened.
Yes.
Wait. How do you?
This is a theory out. I am serious. This is lurking on the internet.
How do you spell it?
Jake, I need you to find a picture of it.
The Berenstain Bears.
The Berenstain Bears.
Berenstain Bears. DMac
is
spelled BERENSTAIN.
All right.
Pull up a cover because that's not what I remember it looking like, and it drives me crazy.
See, I remember AIN, not EIN. That's the thing. That's the whole thing.
All right. I mean, if it's spelled Baron, then it's Baron. I mean, you know.
No, the BEREN. That's the same every time. It's Berenstain, STAIN, or Stein, STEIN, or Stein or Steen.
Berenstain Bears, man. Okay. Anyways, Jake, appreciate you hopping on. I know you threw you in here real quick. Should the Broncos also, I know they have nothing to trade, but is it going to be an opportunity to maybe try and find somebody to help out the O-line? Mace?
I don't know if anybody's coming to save him this year, besides Tom Compton, who they're expecting to have back after the bye. He started practicing last week in London. At this point, if you're looking for an offensive lineman, I don't think that the only way I think you're going to find somebody to help is if you have a deal with Bradley Chubb that also has an offensive lineman coming back. Okay. But the reality is you're probably just trying to hold on with what you've got. I thought Calvin Anderson actually had a good game yesterday at left tackle. Graham Glasgow is going to fill in at center for Lloyd Cushenberry here. But by and large, I think it's just kind of duct taping and baling wiring this thing with what you've got the rest of the way.
Nah, there's nothing there's nobody out there, and the Broncos aren't going to be buyers either. They don't have any draft picks. Yeah. And that's what you need to do business unless you're amongst the other things that will never happen because it came out of my mouth. But I would trade Bradley Chubb for Sean Payton. I mean, listen, if you really think, and Greg Penner was at least on the fence about things. Greg Penner at least told Mike Kliss that it's a week-to-week basis, okay? Mm-hmm. At least we got a little sense of honesty out of ownership as we certainly didn't get out of George Payton. So, okay, fine. You know, everybody says, oh, what do you expect him to say? I don't know. I mean, if you're going to lie to us, don't be so bold-faced unless you really mean what you say and you're just willing to go down with the ship, which may be the case. But it's a week-to-week basis. That's what Greg Penner said. And you know what? This week you won. So you're good. You kept your job. You're not getting fired. And it still wouldn't surprise me if they made some other changes during the bye week, that they assess everything. And most likely that would be the firing of Butch Barry with Justin Outten taking a more hands-on control of the offensive line. At least then we would know what Justin Outen's actually doing. And the offensive line has been somewhat of a disaster at best. And if you want to call up Mike Munchak to bring him back in, at least as a consultant, why wouldn't you at this point?
Because he's consulting with the Vikings right now, so he's not available. That's why.
All right, then hire him.
Sorry. Yeah, it's because the Vikings hired Chris Cooper, who was Munch's assistant, to be their O-line coach in Minnesota. And so basically Cooper kind of returned the favor from Munch. And so Munch is like just kind of consulting, but I think.
So wait, does he have a consulting contract that prohibits him from taking a job?
Generally speaking, it's not around the league. It would not be very well thought of if he decided to go somewhere else. So that's not happening. Look, that's not happening this season. Let's just, so.
That's fine. I didn't know that. Okay, cool. Moving on. You replace Butch Barry, you replace him with Outten, and you do something. You've still got to make some significant changes here, guys. There was 3 good drives. I'm happy for those 3 good drives. It was a miracle interception by Justin Simmons. I'm telling you, every single team the Broncos are going to play is not going to make that same mistake. That was a terrible mistake by Lawrence and the Jaguars. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I'm still on board with Hackett handing off the play calling, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I still think that's something that he should think long and hard about here during the bye.
We don't know that Clint Kubiak's all that much better. I will tell you this, though, Mace, to your credit here. Last year, the Philadelphia Eagles were 2-5. Nick Sirianni, whatever his name is, Mumblemouth. He made an adjustment and gave up the play calling. They finished, the Eagles, they finished 9-8, and right now they are undefeated because Sirianni did make changes. It saved his job and improved the team. So if you're looking for an example of what you should do under a very similar set of circumstances, it would be the Eagles, who are winning games with a second-round quarterback, not my choice, but a second-round quarterback who does a really good job managing the game. And they have an extraordinarily good defense right now. So that's how the Eagles did it. If we want to copy anybody, it would be the Philadelphia Eagles.
And they kind of, between Sirianni doing that and just being kind of patient with him, because a lot of the same things that are being said about Hackett the last several weeks were said about Sirianni last year. And here they are. The thing is, I don't know that play calling would get any better specifically if you did make the change. I just think it would help Nathaniel Hackett kind of manage things in terms of being the head coach and overseeing things better. Because, I mean, you had 2 delay of game penalties on special teams yesterday. You're still seeing these kind of procedural things, these errors that make you think, all right, what's going on here? You need a little, I think you need to have the head coach kind of focus on running the big picture and steering the ship a little bit.
How do you get a delay a game on a kickoff?
I don't know if I've ever seen it before in my life. That's how bad that was. There's absolutely no reason for that. I mean, they're sitting here with by the way, Broncos franchise record in terms of most penalty yards in the first 8 games of the season. Congratulations. You're still and the thing is, it's not getting any better in the big picture. You're still seeing a lot of these mental errors.
Jerry Rosberg should have been fired as soon as that play happened, because that's completely unacceptable.
But Rachel, we know Dwayne Stoops refuses to talk to Jerry Rosberg.
True.
We can't hold Jerry Rosberg responsible for anything with the special teams coach, because our special teams coach said he would rather talk to Joe DeCamillis, who is a special teams coach with the Rams, rather than the guy who's on his squad.
I think that's just being a bit ridiculous. So I think Dwayne Stoops should have some conversations too, because there have been lots of mishaps on that special teams unit as well. Okay, both of you, we got a question. It says, is anyone going to report on what candy the Wilson household is handing out tonight? I can guarantee it is full-size candy bars. So we need to talk about the best candy for Halloween is what, DMac?
Well, I got a story for you guys. I mean, my go-to candy forever is Reese's Peanut Butter Cups and any sort of version of them. They could be small, they could be big, they could even be in M&M sizes.
Someone's at the front door.
Look at that! Trick or treat!
Trick or treat already?
You couldn't time that out better, could you? Oh, let me show McKee household for trick or treat. Mase, answer the question. I'm coming back with a surprise.
Okay, it's anything Reese's for me. Peanut butter cups, they're little fast break bars. Reese's Pieces, like little bags of those.
Yeah.
Those are good as well. Right behind that for me would be the little bags of M&Ms, preferably peanut M&Ms. I'm sorry, those have a peanut allergy. And then I like the little Kit Kat bars as well. Those are a solid play. And then not many are a fan of York peppermint patties. I love those. Like if we're giving those out at Halloween, inevitably I'm going to abscond with about half the bag for myself.
Okay, so we're all agreeing. Real quick, DMac, we'll get to you. We're all agreeing Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are like the king. Even though since I've had COVID in the past couple of years, it doesn't taste the same for me. I'm still putting it at the top. But Skittles.
Oh, no.
That sucks.
I know. My favorite candy, peanut butter, just doesn't sit well with me anymore. It's awful. It's very sad, but it is what it is. But Skittles, I have to throw them in there because I love a good bag of Skittles. But DMac, what do you got in your
Okay. My wife went on a health kick, as I did a couple years ago. While I would still very lazily go to the King Supers and just buy a bag of crap and just set it out there, my wife has gone the extra effort. So she has, and this is just a small sample, she has pre-made bags of candy for everybody and bags of snacks. So that's right. We have 50 of these in the house, and these are pre-made to hand out to each individual kid. It's like goldfish and pretzels, and there's some gum there, and it's all very relatively
That's huge.
healthy stuff. So every kid that comes to my house, we have 58 of these bags. So if we get more than 58 trick-or-treaters, we're in big trouble. But this is just a small box of all those things made up to hand out to the trick-or-treaters.
Wow. You've got a good household.
That's amazing. Like,
I had nothing to do with it. I didn't go shopping for it. It wasn't my idea. Nor did I help my wife pack the bags.
Go Kim.
I will be late showing up for trick-or-treating tonight at my house because I'm on the air till 6 o'clock.
You actually, I mean, because it's a Monday night, the school night, Kim might be through those 58 by the time you get home.
You know what, guys?
Here's the rules of trick-or-treating. You cannot start until it's dark out. You cannot start.
Oh,
if you come to my house before it's dark out, I'm not answering the door for you. I'm sorry.
That's a lot. That's a lot harder now since they pushed the daylight savings time fall back a week, though.
Listen.
And you cannot knock on my door after 8 p.m. And if you've gone through puberty, you need to not show up either at my house.
That's fair. That's fair. It has to be dark out and you can't go through puberty. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for coffee break on this Monday morning. There it is. It is definitely the Berenstein Bears.
You're right. You're right.
It just looks off.
I grew up and I had these books when I was a kid, and I distinctly remember STAIN. So I don't know what timeline I'm on.
Wait, you remember AIN or you remember EIN?
AIN. That's what I grew up with.
Well, that's it.
Ugh. My mom has to have a book. I'm going to ask her. Yes. Anyways, this drives me crazy.
And the website, by the way, the official website is STAIN. BerensteinBears.com. I wonder what Berenstein Bears. What happens there? I hope it doesn't give me my computer device or something.
Does it redirect you, Mace?
Let's find out. Yeah, Berenstein Bears, STEIN. It's one of those. Click here to buy Berenstein Bears for your website. It's one of those placeholder things. So the website is STAIN.
Oh my gosh, it drives me crazy. But that's going to do it for our Halloween edition of Coffee Break. Make sure you go to DMac's house so you can get that awesome pack. Mace, appreciate you hopping on with us on this Monday. And to everybody in the comments, we love hearing from you. Keep them coming. We'll see y'all tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Oh, and tune in. Mace and Cecil, 3:30 for Orange and Blue today. We'll see everybody later. Bye.